World, it's changed in the last 36 hours. Let's start in Israel, where explosions and measures to stop missile attacks have that nation on edge. NewsNation's Robert Sherman is live on the ground in Tel Aviv. Robert, good morning from New York. I spoke to you 24 hours ago. There were sirens blaring. There were explosions heard behind you. What has happened in the last 24 hours? What's going on this morning?
Well, hey there, Hena. Well, as the sun has risen on the second day of these joint operations with the U.S. and Israelis here in the Middle East, we're still operating at a pretty quick tempo with constant threats still coming all over the region here. In fact, just moments ago, we had sirens blaring here in Tel Aviv and about a dozen or so interceptions in the sky above us. That has become the normal under these operations here, and it has kept the entire region totally on edge, including here in Israel, in which people have been going in and out of bomb shelters and have been taking the situation very seriously. Conversely, the strikes on Iran, those have not been stopping. They've moved in terms of their priorities from focusing a bit less on Western Iran to now hitting the heart of Tehran itself. A big focus has been placed on knocking out Iran's ballistic missile launch sites, which still pose a significant threat here, as we saw, in which there was an impact just a couple of blocks away from us, in which casualties reported on the ground here. It shows that while the Iron Dome has proven to be effective here in Israel, it is not perfect, and when those missiles get past, they do have a significant lethality that people on the ground here saw firsthand during the 12 days war, which is why they've taken all of this very seriously. Iran's saying today that they have every intention of keeping up the fire on U.S. troops in the region, as well as Israeli positions here, to avenge the death of Supreme Leader Khamenei, many of his top staff, including defense and intelligence ministers, and they say that they will continue forward with a force to ultimately attempt to overwhelm the American and Israeli positions here. By that same token, though, the U.S. and the Israelis say they will continue pounding away at Iran until all of these threats have been eliminated here. And I would add, Hena, that it's not just U.S. positions and Israeli positions. We've seen alerts going off throughout the night in countries around the Middle East, even as far west as Cyprus, in which the British defense minister said today that missiles were fired in that direction. There are UK troops that are on the ground in Cyprus. They're not convinced that they were the target of all of this, but they do view that it's a testament to just how indiscriminate these responses from Iran have been. Hena?
Robert, I've shared with our viewers that you and I were texting yesterday, and one thing you said to me, and it stuck with me: welcome to a new world. And that is certainly the feedback I'm getting from so many experts and lawmakers that are coming on this show. You talked about the long list of casualties that is only going to get longer. Talk to me about the fears that people on the ground have with these periodic attacks that you're seeing.
Well, it's a dynamic here, Hena, in which you still have the airspace restrictions in effect here in Israel, meaning that getting in, getting out, not really a legitimate option for people here. You have plenty of Israelis who are stuck overseas right now who would like to get back in. You also have people on the ground here who would like to leave as quickly as possible. Really puts into context those alerts that came down from the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem, where they said, leave immediately while you still have a chance. That window has largely closed when it comes to commercial flights in and out of Israel. But then, I mean, it comes down to the constant threats that exist here when it comes to the possibility of strikes carried out by Iran. Because what makes all of this different is that people saw the 12 days war last year. They saw the Iron Dome get penetrated more than most people have really seen on the ground here, which is why, historically speaking, alerts are not uncommon in Israel. People have lived through this for decades on end. But what Iran exhibited in their capabilities last year was very powerful to a lot of people on the ground here. And it is something that they are taking very seriously, because they know Iran's ballistic missile capabilities in particular are different than what Hamas has put into the air over the last couple of years, what the Houthis have indicated that they've been able to fire here from Yemen. It's just different than what people are dealing with here. Hena?
The biggest news, of course, in all of this is Iran confirming the death of its supreme leader. What are you learning about that? What is Iran sharing about the death of him and several of his family members?
Yeah, I mean, now, that it's been acknowledged from both sides in all of this. Of course, the White House was the first one to come out with that public confirmation, but now Iranian state media confirming it as well. You've seen militia groups around the region, which for hours on end were refusing to acknowledge the death of the supreme leader, finally coming out and saying that this is the reality of what has happened here. And it's not just the supreme leader, but it's also members of his family as well. It is also close associates, members of his cabinet on the defense and intelligence sides within the Iranian Revolutionary Guard.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.